On the surface, Roland seems like an ordinary lumberjack, but in reality, he is a wilderness expert who can single-handedly take down
black bear mitts.
After surviving a fierce battle, there's nothing more satisfying than indulging in a hearty meal of authentic wild roast meat.
Oh man. That was fine. That was mighty fine.
The musk ox's testicles are a superb energy boost right now. They're packed with protein, potassium, and fat, making them the ultimate nourishment during the demanding, low-food days of wilderness survival. After this meal of half-pound charcoal-grilled prime beef tenderloin, Roland feels rejuvenated, like he's 18 again. His long-standing back pains seem to vanish completely. After a satisfying meal and drink, I reclined on the bed, feeling like nothing could be more enjoyable. However, this beef feast was the result of over 20 days of surviving en route. When he spotted the musk ox, his hunger drove him to disregard any potential dangers. He raised his bow and arrow, aiming at the musk ox, thus officially commencing this epic battle. Feeling a slight pain in its rear, the ox hurriedly headed down the slope to find a place to hide. Roland trailed the ox, maintaining distance, anxious it might flee yet wary of counterattack. Attacking at this moment could likely provoke a strong resistance from the ox. The safest strategy is to maintain a safe distance and wait for the right moment to strike. Roland tracked the musk ox to its resting spot, planning to fire another arrow. At this critical juncture, he realized he lacked the proper gear, so he had to wait patiently for the right moment to strike. Musk ox, Arctic Circle native, boasts skin 1 to 2 centimeters thick, combined with a thick layer of subcutaneous fat. This physical makeup slows blood loss from wounds, forcing Roland to wait for over 5 hours until it finally succumbed to blood loss. Roland noticed the musk ox was about to collapse from exhaustion. As the sky dimmed, he readied his knife for a close combat showdown. After all, everything he wanted had to be fought for. The resilient musk ox also wanted to resist fiercely, but due to previous injuries causing sluggish movements and its large size, making it less agile, it was like a lamb to the slaughter in front of Roland with his knife. With 2 critical fatal strikes from Roland, coupled with 6 hours of physiological torment from the initial injury, the 900-pound musk ox finally collapsed. After countless desert battles in golden armor, I won't return until Lulan falls. After over a month of hard struggle, Roland finally reaped the rewards of his relentless efforts. You're more impressive than those guys watching from screens post-shower. Once the thrill subsided, the key task was to stop the beef from spoiling. Roland decided to first remove the internal organs, as the bacteria in organs multiply 3 to 5 times faster than in muscle tissue. This step swiftly cools the carcass, slowing bacterial growth and helping with meat processing. It extends storage time, and while breaking down the ox, he ate some heart to boost his energy, while boosting his intake of trace, iron, and protein. Ox heart contains 15 to 18 grams of protein per 100 grams, and 7 to 9 milligrams of heme iron, which swiftly restores nutrients to an energy-drained body, alleviating physical exhaustion. But it must be noted, this practice of eating raw organs, viewers should not imitate this blindly. For most, consuming raw food can result in food poisoning or parasites. But Roland has had this habit for many years, so his body has developed certain specific antibodies. However, the Arctic night always carries positional risks. For his own safety, Roland had to temporarily set aside such delicacies. He focused on gathering supplies for the 2.5-kilometer trek back to camp, farther than last season when Jordan's camp was just 900 meters away. Jordan once processed moose overnight, but Roland opted against this approach now. The main reason is that his area's ecosystem is more perilous. This area has long been home to night-active predators like black bears and wolverines. Roland wasn't willing to endanger himself by hauling loads of beef through the night. Therefore, he chose to pack the high-fat innards into his raincoat to take back to camp first. Just 100 grams of innard fat can provide 900 calories, sufficient for a lavish wild dinner tonight, with the remainder left for processing the next day. Hopefully, predators won't ruin the musk ox tonight, or viewers will see what happens when Roland gets mad. The 29th warm night in the Arctic was the most comfortable sleep Roland had. The ultimate relaxation allowed him to sleep until after 11 a.m. After savoring a breakfast worthy of a national banquet, Roland grabbed his bow and arrows again, setting out to transport the beef. He knew there might be bears and wolverines snatching it. Black bear's sense of smell is 2,100 times that of humans. Detect strong scents 10 kilometers away. Beef with bloody smell is likely to draw predators. Luckily, he didn't face any ambushes on his way. When he arrived at the Musk ox storage site, he saw that most of the prime meat was intact, though the cow's stomach on the rocks had been taken. Roland prepared to begin, gripped his bow and arrow, eyes fixed ahead. The wind rustling leaves was a false alarm, a relief. I suspected another animal might be approaching with supplies, which added an element of danger to the dissection process. Roland needed to stay alert. He intended to start by removing the outer skin, starting with the 2 ox legs. From a nutritional standpoint, the protein content of ox leg meat is about 20%, includes 8 vital amino acids, with protein digestion and absorption rate can exceed 90%, effectively promoting muscle growth and repair. Ideal for fitness buffs and post-surgery recovery. Roland, a seasoned hunting guide. Roland has handled many large animals in his life, so dissecting is almost second nature to him. While dissecting, he must remain alert to his surroundings to prevent predator attacks, and this prime tenderloin will be the best reward for a hard day's work. After 3 hours of work, beef scent drew crows, and the arrival of crows often signals other predators to track the food. So, Roland needs to hurry with the processing, but he can't haul all the meat back to the shelter today, since the dissection just took place here to prevent wild animals from devouring the remaining beef. Roland had to prioritize moving the best cuts up the mountain first. He camouflaged it with branches and covered it entirely with the ox hide. He left just the musk ox's head and stomach at the original spot to lure predators with their scent. Preserving core beef. The bloody smell at the first sight is too strong. Snow swirls around the Arctic Circle, but Roland's cabin is a cozy spring day. Plus, with a plate full of ox hard in hand, Roland is in his most comfortable state, savoring the delicacy. I think nothing beats this moment after enjoying such a protein-rich meal. The beef must still be moved, even as untouched snow falls from the wild. Covering the entire land, it still cannot halt his stride towards winning $1 million. However, spotting the snow scattered with chaotic footprints, a sudden dread seized him. He hurried to the scene, bow and arrows in hand. Sure enough, poachers had ravaged the musk ox's head, and the nutritious, tricky-to-cook tongue was missing too. Luckily, even with some losses, the main stash of meat stayed hidden. After this painful lesson, Roland realized he needed to speed up the transportation of the beef, avoid further escalation of losses. However, walking in the blizzard, he can only haul dozens of pounds of beef per trip, and with the 2.5-kilometer trek, he can manage at most 3 trips a day. Hopefully, in the coming days, the meat won't suffer too much loss. Right now, for Roland, too much meat is a hassle. If Roland the Wilderness Machine hadn't taken down that musk ox, any contestant left this season can be picked out at random. They are all likely to be champions in other seasons, and Mark is the most typical contestant. After a month of competing, the Great Slave Fox in the Arctic Circle has provided him with almost 80 pounds of fish, filling the room. Some of the excess has even started to hang outside. Mark has depended on fishing nets to survive, but as Arctic temperatures fall, his daily catch has been dwindling.
No fish today.
As the temperature drops, more fish are moving in large numbers to deeper waters. Since most fish are cold-blooded animals, they lack the heat-producing organs that mammals have to consistently generate warmth. To keep their body temperature steady, they look for better waters for fish in winter. However, not all fish rely entirely on environmental temperature. Predatory fish like tuna and sharks have evolved partial warm-blooded capabilities to resist the cold. At this moment, the gill net is like a rope on a cliff for Mark. It could either save him or sink him, urging a swift shift in his survival plan. The only escape is to break through, and stumbling upon that big black bear is vital for Mark's survival fight. That day, Mark shook off his exhaustion and grime, set on hunting a big catch to last him 70 days. I must say, Mark's physique is enviable even for a man like me, let alone for women. In subsequent program interviews, it's easy to notice the gear and communication earpiece behind Mark, along with his robust body, indicating that he still maintains some habits from his time in the Marine Corps after retiring. But before setting off, he must routinely check the death traps, just in case he catches a few big fish today. Halfway to the lake, a pile of war relics from the black bear on the ground catches his eye. The bear's been snooping around his camp, checking things out, which feels like finding a pillow just when you need it, as if $1 million landed at his doorstep. After finding his fishing net empty today, Mark's urge to confront the black bear intensifies, and the bear appears oddly accommodating. While Mark slept deeply, the bear cleverly untied the ropes and took all the fish meat, leaving not even the bones for him. The bear is as smart as a 3 to 5-year-old child, so it easily undid the device. Recalling the bear droppings he just found, it feels like a provocation to Mark. Such audacious behavior has completely activated Mark's determination to hunt the bear. He began his bear hunting plan to build a high observation tower, situated at an elevated spot, He can watch and monitor from the treetops. He can easily spot large animals from several kilometers away, and any creature within his bow and arrows range is unlikely to escape. After a successful hunt, it can be used as a high-altitude food storage rack. This dual-purpose habit is also a result of Mark's years of wilderness survival experience.
I can see a heck of a lot more and see what's coming. I want the advantage. Now I have it.
After a month in the wild, Kalin has slowly picked up some fishing insights. He realized that he couldn't rely solely on snare traps for food, so the abandoned oil barrel he found yesterday would be his turning point. In the competition, participants can use whatever they find, so Kalin aims to turn the oil barrel into a boat. This will let her steer it to deeper waters for fishing, aiming to outshine others and become the new fish queen. In the end, she could easily win this season's $1 million prize, thanks to her knowledge from watching survival tutorials by Bear Grylls and Ed Stafford. Start by chopping spruce trunks to form the raft's framework. Then secure the oil barrel in the center with paracord to increase buoyancy. It won't tip over in the waves and is easy to sit on while casting the hopeful lure. After an hour of hard work, the raft, dubbed Kalin, was launched successfully and tested by climbing aboard. It seemed solid, but trying it on the water needed a calm day. After 2.5 tense days, the lake finally calmed down. Kalin estimates about 2 weeks remain before the lake freezes. So, he needs to stockpile a month's worth of food in just 2 weeks. Otherwise, in bad weather, they'd be stuck in the shelter, munching on roots. Driven by the $1 million prize, Kalin pushed the raft into the water. Getting it afloat smoothly was already half the battle. Kalin then boarded the small boat and gently paddled toward the lake's center. Initially, the journey was relatively smooth, but soon after, trouble arose. While the oil barrel kept it afloat, the boat's bottom barely touched the water. Even a slight wave on the lake could make it sway wildly. Feeling the cold lake water beckoning, Kalin quickly retreated to the shore. Fortunately, she didn't fall in, or the Arctic would have redefined her understanding of cold. It's likely that Kalin won't attempt fishing from a boat again unless she modifies it, transforming it into a wilderness bathtub. Recalling the start of the competition, I remember she was quite eager to order one from Amazon. Meanwhile, Amos on the other side, the sudden drop in temperature brought him considerable trouble. The shadow moving in front of the camera was the biggest threat. Looks like the bear is eyeing Amos as a new addition to its pre-hibernation menu. To protect his smoked fish and himself, he must add a stronger, more reliable security door over the current one. Ensuring safety and insulation, 2 horizontal and 1 vertical make a cover. 2 points and a stand form a board. And the security door was in place. Even I'd sleep better now, but he still needs to secure his fishing net. When he got to the lakeside, he was shocked, stunned.
Oh my God, the gill net's gone.
After the sea broke the wooden stick once, Amos didn't reinforce it, and this time the sea completely washed away his gill net. This result was undoubtedly a heavy blow, as this was Amos's most cherished treasure in the Arctic Circle. To quickly make up for the lost catch, he must weave a new net before the lake freezes over. The next day's heavy snowfall outside his cabin signals that his chances to fish are dwindling. Over the past 30 days, Amos had been hunting continuously, but easy prey was scarce. The animals he finds are mostly nocturnal, with only the fish in the water being more accommodating. He hopes the new gill net keeps supplying him with food. The following day is Amos's 35th in the Arctic Circle, which coincides with his daughter's 2nd birthday. Hoping for some good fortune, he unexpectedly lands a big pike.
Give me this awesome gift. Some food for my belly.
Once ashore, he quickly performs a ritual by hitting a wooden fish. Physical transcendence. Amos expressed that if this fish could be made into his favorite dish, carp noodle stew, and it must be done with the eyes, which truly makes today very satisfying. Roland needs some self-care too. She headed out with leftover cow brain in hand, getting ready for secondary resource use. Thanks to lecithin oil in cow brains, it naturally softens leather, so it's used on leather gloves. It boosts glove flexibility and durability, and when used on the skin, it acts as a moisturizer. It helps lock in moisture, shields against winter's chill, hydrates the skin, and wards off frostbite. The main point is it's purely natural without additives, mirroring Bai's method. The main rule for surviving 100 days in the Arctic is to abandon traditional biases. Make the most of every part of the prey, since surviving is key to reaching the goal. $1 million can transform one's future. With predators like black bears and wolverines prowling the Arctic Circle, Roland has to protect his beef, which is as valuable as gold. He doesn't want to waste time on these poachers, so he decided to build a sturdy, solid wood meat storage box. Roland, known for daring choices, opted for logs over 15 centimeters thick for the build, It's just ridiculous to assume small animals would destroy things for food. The carry-on box is lined with spruce branches at the bottom, which helps keep the meat fresh. It also keeps crawling animals out, protecting the meat from contamination. Focus on wolverines. Research shows that wolverines can sniff out food buried under 6 meters of snow, so reinforced meat storage boxes seal and sturdiness. In everyday life, Roland is a professional lumberjack. With his advanced skills in wood cutting, Roland opted for a mortise and tenon design for the meat storage box. The assembly stays stable by interlocking the wood's protrusions and recesses. This technique provides more stability in cold conditions than using nails. It's also the top method for building in the wild. After setting the height, then hammer wooden stakes into the ground at each corner of the icebox and tighten steel wires between the stakes to ensure that no large animal could overturn it. After 2.5 hours of busy work, a robust natural icebox was constructed, and Roland promptly stored the meat not needed immediately, using spruce branches to keep the pieces apart. He aimed to keep the heavy snow from freezing the pieces together, so he crafted a lid for the icebox and secured it. Even wolverines, black bears, struggle with it, and Roland needs a while to access food. Kalin is surviving on memories, recalling the delicious meals she's enjoyed when protein was scarce. I thought about all the tasty foods I've had, but just remembering them won't fix the issue. Eager to savor 4 dishes per meal someday, she picked up her bow and arrow. She sprang into action, focusing on checking the snare traps first to beat other animals to the catch. On the way, Kalin was thrilled to discover fresh moose tracks in the snow. Examining the track depth, he felt sure the moose had passed by recently. Just as Kalin rekindled his hope of catching the moose, his traps dashed his expectations. After checking all the traps, he found them empty, and his high hopes plummeted to a cold low. He could only think back to his pre-competition dreams with his husband of winning the prize, buying an RV, and embarking on a world tour to reignite his motivation. But just as Kalin was about to return to camp to rest, he unexpectedly noticed a moose ambling nearby. Kalin was ready this time. He stealthily approached and aimed to strike with precision. However, after a brief pursuit, the moose abruptly disappeared. Missing the $1 million opportunity twice left Kalin unable to control his emotions. Anyone in his position would feel deep regret. Perhaps regret is the main theme of life.
He was right there. That's good news, right? That's good. Just the prospect of having that much food.
In later interviews, Kalin often expressed his regret over this experience. Though he wasn't a top-notch jungle hunter, he tried every possible way to strive for success. At this point, you might wonder if there's a contestant who can rival Roland. Mark stands out as the top contender, boasting a shelter with a semi-automatic door designed to keep black bears at bay. Inside, a stash of smoked fish as valuable as gold, with stacked kindling and firewood, and a simple yet comfortable single bed for leisure. He can lean back on a wooden chair and enjoy a warm cup of tea. And the core of this shelter is a fireplace that provides warmth and cooks meat. He keeps valuable antler ornaments on the top shelf. If Mark can gather enough food and no unexpected events occur, the $1 million prize could very well be taken from Roland. Once the Arctic was blanketed in snow, his prized gill net stopped producing results for quite a while. After a bear recently raided his supplies, he must carefully manage his daily food intake. Now, he relies entirely on snare traps to provide some protein. Fortunately, the snow leaves behind animal tracks, allowing him to set snares on their paths to food. As soon as the prey touches the bottom of the wire loop, all that awaits them is cumin, chili, and sesame oil. While traps aren't the best method for catching prey, they're the sole passive option when the lake freezes. They may not always work, but they can reignite hope at critical moments, like this snare with just a tuft of fur left. The footprints and urine stains left in the snow prove that animals are out foraging. A cunning fox got there first. Once a fox claims territory, it marks it with urine and keeps a close patrol to monitor the situation. This discovery means that while Mark searches for his next meal, he must be wary of both bear attacks and opportunistic foxes. Usually cheerful, Kelly is particularly serious today. Her home now has an adorable new guest, and Kelly seems quite fond of it, as she didn't send the short-tailed vole flying when it licked the leftovers on the cutting board, but instead quietly observed its behavior. In winter, the vole's fur changes from brown to white, using natural colors to protect itself. After living alone for so long, Kelly's heart craves comfort, and maybe this little vole will be her playful friend. After finding some solace in her heart, it's time to feast. Kelly's early snare trap setup was all for this moment, as winter is her harvest season. Today, she had a great start. Before she could express gratitude for nature's bounty, Her traps brought another success. Even more astonishing, the third trap yielded a triple catch, making it all feel surreal. Kelly could hardly believe it, holding a bounty of rabbits in her arms. These 4 plump snow rabbits would provide her with 72 grams of precious fat, 650 grams of protein. Are the wheels of fate? We're starting to turn at this moment? Such a bountiful scene was the outcome Kelly had dreamed of countless times. At the same time, Mark's anxiety grew due to the lack of food. Eagerly, he went to check his traps early the next morning. But when he reached the traps, he's stunned finding a fox, reminiscent of legendary Dodgy. This little fox was equally tempting to Mark's hungry stomach, but he dared not act. Due to local regulations, contestants are prohibited from hunting foxes. Under pressure, Mark had no choice but to release the fox. Honestly, I think without the motion camera, Mark could have ended up with an extra pair of winter gloves. Perhaps it was the fox repaying a debt of gratitude, or maybe luck was finally on Mark's side. The excitement of getting food was a sensation he hadn't felt in ages. He realized he waited too long. After checking traps, he inspected the gill net and found a big fish.
Oh! Man, got a fish!
It's rare to find active fish near the shore in winter, so catching a large whitefish at this time was enough to fill Mark with confidence for the days ahead. A full belly leads to idle thoughts. Joel was a prime example. He thrived for over a month thanks to fishing success, and with 2 weeks' worth of fish still stored, he found himself constantly crafting. He made all sorts of chairs, and today he planned to carve a bowl from wood. Though he ate regularly, his self-imposed rations were quite sparse. He could tell his body was struggling, requiring frequent breaks soon after beginning work, so much so that it took him until nightfall to finish the basic shape, after which he refined it with charcoal, a method that saved time and effort while smoothing the bowl's interior. To put it bluntly, this was a city kid falling in love with rural life, and it was quite the spectacle. Around 10 at night, just as he lay down dreaming of a better tomorrow, he heard a sudden noise outside. Fearing someone was taking his valuable dried meat, he rushed to the scene, but by the time he arrived, it was too late. As expected, a wolverine was snatching fish from the rack, but Joel ignored it at that moment. He quickly grabbed a ladder to check his fishing rods, took down the fish, and counted them, realizing the wolverine had eaten 10 pieces of dried meat, paining him greatly. What could have lasted him over half a month would now barely stretch a week. It was then he realized that the storage rack he had painstakingly built not only offered no benefits, but almost led to disaster. Joel looked back at himself. He felt foolish. Wolverines are opportunistic hunters, active mainly at night, never missing an easy meal. In unaired footage, Joel discovered a cow carcass recently gnawed by a wolverine. Faced with the wolverine he despises, he plans to use the carcass to punish this poacher. The warning device hasn't gone off for days, suggesting the wolverine is nearby. Concerned about the wolverine stealing food again, Joel opted to keep all the fish indoors this time for safety. He created an underground insulated box to preserve precious fish. Finally, he places the valuable fish meat into a square pit he dug using a stick. Next, wooden stakes are placed around the pit for support, and spruce branches are added inside for padding and protection. Since the soil temperature at about 15 centimeters underground changes more slowly than the air temperature, with temperatures below -10 degrees, Joel is confident the fish will stay well preserved. After storing the fish, Joel makes the most of the mild weather. He had to stockpile firewood for the harsh winter, but with just one meal a day, facing what seemed like an easy physical task, it was now an extreme challenge for his body. The lack of electrolyte replenishment left him feeling exhausted and overheated, shortness of breath. When the body cannot obtain enough glucose as an energy source, the body switches to ketosis, breaking down fat for energy, which might cause lasting neurological issues. This can affect cognitive and behavioral abilities, but the million-dollar prize, he pushed his body to the limit time and again, but this time. After 2 days of rest and adjustment, Joel's leg not only didn't improve, it worsened daily as Joel scrimped and saved, eating a small piece of fish. Jerky was nibbled by a wolverine, causing imbalance between food intake and expenditure. His thighs frequently became uncontrollable, making it hard to stand, especially with the harsh winter setting in. Despite his growing physical weakness making it hard to catch food, Joel confessed that the lure of $1 million was too strong. He planned to hold on longer to turn things around, thinking of his wife waiting at home. He felt he should heed his wife's advice and withdraw if his body couldn't take it. Joel was the fourth to bow out. His body gave no choice. Joel was really hesitant to quit, even though he mentally wanted to keep competing. Sadly, the food shortage weakened his physical strength. In the end, he lasted 40 days. This season showcased a thrilling 40-day competition. At this point, 6 survival experts remain, and the upcoming extreme sub-zero conditions will be the true test of wilderness survival. The frigid winter nights keep Mark, far from home, wide awake. He took out a photo of his beloved son, which served as the spiritual force keeping him going. As the snow fell heavily and with little else to occupy him, he chose to craft a wooden horse for his son. Bring it home as a long-awaited gift, hoping this experience will inspire his son's lifelong growth. During the crafting process, Mark was extremely careful, fearing he might ruin the carving. Despite caution, excess force caused Mark to snap horse's leg. However, just at that moment, that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more updates in the next episode.